It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. On the radio, on podcasts, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Today I'm going to be talking about business law and asset protection planning. Have you heard about asset protection planning? What is it and how does it work? Since we're talking about business law today, I want to tell you about a new CEO who took over a struggling company and decided to get rid of all the slackers. You know the type. On a tour of the facilities, the CEO noticed a guy leaning against the wall. He couldn't believe this guy would just be standing around on the job. The new CEO walked up to the guy leaning against the wall and asked him, "What are you doing?" The man responds, "I'm just waiting to get paid." Furious, the CEO asks, "How much money do you make in a week?" A little surprised, the man replied, "I make about $300 a week." "Why?" The CEO quickly got out his checkbook, hands the guy a check made out to cash for $1,200 and says, "Here's 4 weeks' pay. Now get out and don't come back." The man put the check in his pocket and promptly walked out. Feeling pretty good about himself, the CEO looked around the room and asked everybody there, "Does anyone want to tell me what just happened here?" From across the room, a voice said, "Yeah, you just tipped the pizza guy $1,200. Ha! So we're going to be talking about asset protection today. Some people come to the law office or call us on the phone asking for that because they have a neighbor, a friend or family member who said that they had asset protection. Well, there's some questions that I ask first to get started. What are the risks that concern you? Won't insurance cover this? What assets do you have to protect? Are all of your assets exempt? Do you have non-exempt assets? We're going to talk about all that and more coming right up. Before we continue, I just want to tell you about where you can find Talk Law Radio. Of course, you can find us on Saturday mornings, Sunday in the afternoon, and on podcasts everywhere. Also, Facebook Live, X, formerly known as Twitter, and YouTube. Search YouTube, type in Talk Law Radio, and look for the Lady Justice logo and the red, white, and blue colors, and click subscribe. Okay, we're going to be talking about asset protection now, but I want to give you some background how I got interested in business. A friend and I, back 30 years ago, started a lawn care business. We made a little bit of money, walking around money, as they call it, going to the movies money, and just hanging out with friends. Then I learned about business entities like LLCs, corporations, limited partnerships at St. Mary's Law School. Then I started working for an estate planning attorney. At that time, in 2007 and 2008, the applicable estate tax exclusion amount was about $2 million. Anyone passing assets valued at more than $2 million had to pay federal estate tax. And at that time, the estate planning attorney that I was working for was using limited partnerships to discount the value of the estate. Fast forward to today, How do we see LLCs being used today? Well, I see a lot of real estate investors using them, also electricians, plumbers, and other trades, and anyone who has a friend that has an LLC. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So first, how many of you are asking for asset protection? Or is this the first time you've heard of it? Some of you probably think all of this is unnecessary because you believe only millionaires and billionaires need asset protection. But I believe every dollar means more to those of us who aren't Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. We can't afford to waste money on risk. What are the risks that concern you? Well, auto accidents. Almost everybody over the age of 18 drives a car, and it's not probably you that are engaging in the risky behavior, but you have to worry about everybody else on the road. And what would happen if you bumped into Tony Parker going down 281? Well, his car is probably worth more than your house, all of your assets together, and your limited auto insurance coverage probably won't pay for his car. And what if, God forbid, you killed the guy? Well, then you'd end up owing his estate hundreds of millions of dollars for his lost income. Also at risk, business setbacks, damages caused by your children, contractual disputes, death, disability, and divorce, economic downturns, liability incurred by your employees, frivolous lawsuits, and mistakes made in the business that cause damages to your customers and clients. Won't insurance cover that? Well, I like to tell my clients that insurance companies don't get to have the tallest buildings in town by paying out all their claims. But I do recommend insurance to cover those accidents that the insurance company are likely to pay. Besides asking about risk, I also ask, what assets do you have to protect? Well, some assets are protected by the great state of Texas Constitution. Article 16, Section 49 of the Constitution says that the legislature shall make laws to protect assets. And the interpretive commentary in Vernon's Statutes book, 1993, stated, the purpose of protecting debtors from destitution, or their families from deprivation of support, or the public from the danger of their becoming charges, the Constitution provides that the legislature shall have the duty of enacting statutes, which stipulate that certain personal property of debtors shall not be liable to seizure and sale under legal process for the payment of their debts. The freedom so conferred is termed an exemption. Exemption laws are founded on public policy. The purpose underlying the legislation is securing the unfortunate debtor the means to support himself and his family, the protection of the family being the main consideration. Isn't that awesome? The family being the main consideration. I thought that was very well written. So Article 16 of the Texas Constitution told the legislature to prescribe laws to protect assets. The Texas Property Code, Section 49 and Section 50, have a list of the assets that are protected, one being your homestead, and then the others I'm just going to generally say what's on the list. If you want more detail, go to Section 49 of the Texas Constitution. Oh, and Chapter 42 of the Texas Property Code, starting with Section 42.001. Generally, some of the exempt assets are your house, your car, your IRA, your 401k, your life insurance, your annuities, your pets, 2 firearms, $50,000 if you're an individual, and $100,000 if you're married. Everything else is not exempt, aka up for grabs. So the Texas Constitution does not protect non-exempt assets like brokerage accounts, checking, savings, CDs, money markets, mutual funds, boats, ranches, jet skis, vacation homes, motorcycles, business buildings, rental property, and RVs. Now, of course, there are some exceptions. This isn't meant to be legal advice for your specific situation. If you have questions, you should call a lawyer. So, part of what we do at Marquardt Law Firm is business and estate law. Estate law including estate planning, like last wills and living trusts and tax-protected inheritance plans. The main goal being that to help you pass on some of your assets to those you love, your beneficiaries. Well, estate planning attorneys should also counsel you on how to protect your assets so that you have assets to pass on when you pass away. Doesn't that make sense? So, sometimes we'll use an LLC. Sometimes we'll use other things. If you want specific advice about your situation, call a lawyer. You can even find more information about this topic and others at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's M as in mother, ARQUAR, D as in David, T as in Timothy, lawfirm.com. There's a little box that pops up on the website where you can chat with somebody about what your questions or concerns are, or you can just say, I want to schedule an appointment to meet with a lawyer about asset protection. So let's talk a little bit about LLCs. An LLC, limited liability company, was invented by state legislatures to combine some of the best features of corporations and partnerships. An LLC can be structured in different ways, and there's a spectrum of levels of protection that an LLC could have. And so you need to deal with a lawyer for your specific situation to find out what exactly you need to do and what level of protection that will work for you. So just generally, an LLC can be structured as a single member, as a multi-member, as a member managed, and as a manager managed LLC. And if you want more information about that, call a lawyer or go to marquardtlawfirm.com. So an LLC is a separate thing. It's like a separate person. It's separate from the individual creating it. It becomes something that the member can own. So with corporations, we talk about stockholders or shareholders. Well, what we call the owner of an LLC, we call a member. And so that what they own is their membership interest. And the owner can put assets into the LLC. If you want advice about how to make sure that your LLC actually owns the assets that you think it owns, call a lawyer. Okay, this separate thing can own some of those non-exempt assets, but you really do need legal advice about what and how. What are the benefits of the LLC? What's the magic that makes an LLC so valuable? How does it actually protect assets? Well, it all goes to this statute, the Texas Business Organizations Code, Section 101.112. and I'll give you the answer up front. It's that the charging order is the exclusive remedy for an LLC that has been found to owe money to a judgment creditor. I know that's a lot of complicated legal language, but bear with me. The statute says, on application by a judgment creditor of a member of a limited liability company or of any other owner of a membership interest in a limited liability company, a court having jurisdiction may charge the membership interest of the judgment debtor to satisfy the judgment. So I'll say that again in shorthand. The court can charge the membership interest to satisfy the judgment. What does that mean? If a court charges a membership interest with payment of a judgment, the judgment creditor, that's the plaintiff in the lawsuit, has only the right to receive any distribution to which the judgment debtor would otherwise be entitled. A distribution is like money paid out from the LLC to the member like a profit. So the judgment creditor would only have a right to that distribution as part of the charge. That's part of the charging order. So theoretically, the member could prevent the plaintiff from receiving any money just by refusing to take any distributions from the LLC. Further, the charging order constitutes a lien on the judgment debtor's membership interest. Charging order lien may not be foreclosed on under this code or any other law. So if the charging order is a lien, well, if you think of other liens that can be foreclosed on, you think of a mortgage lien on your house or a lien on your car. The car could be repossessed if you didn't pay the promissory note for the loan on your car. Well, what this is saying that your LLC, your business, can't be taken away from you and sold to satisfy the judgment, whatever the judge says that you're responsible to pay. So many of my clients, they say, I run an ethical business. I never do anything wrong. Why should I worry about lawsuits? Well, again, I go back to that list of risks that we talked about at the beginning. One of the risks being economic downturn, another one being business setbacks. Anybody remember what happened in 2008 when the mortgage-backed securities tanked the housing market and banks failed? Remember what happened in 2020 when COVID came and the mayor shut down the city? Well, those are things that mom and pop businesses didn't have anything to do with, but because the whole economy went down, everybody else went down with it. Well, you don't want to lose all of your stuff and all of your assets just because the mayor shut down the city. Okay, I'm going to continue reading from this statute because this is the magic behind LLC protection. The entry of a charging order is the exclusive remedy by which a judgment creditor of a member or of any other owner of a membership interest may satisfy a judgment out of the judgment debtor's membership interest. A creditor of a member or of any other owner of a membership interest does not have the right to obtain possession of the property inside the LLC. So this is really important information. Anybody know what's new about this statute? There's a very recent change to this. It's paragraph G. It says, This section applies to single members and multi-members. Now, many attorneys that do business in estate law have questions about whether that's effective to actually protect single members, because the public policy behind the reasoning why people should be allowed to have LLC protection is to prevent judgment creditors from disrupting a business entity's business by forcing execution sale of the LLC member's interest to satisfy a debt of an individual member, potentially resulting in great injustice to the other members. So the reason for the rule is to protect other members if one member has these debts or has this judgment against him. So is the same magic going to apply to a single member? Well, that's a great question. We'll see how it's tested in the courts. Okay, how does a business owner pass on his membership interest upon death? Well, if you have a will, then the will goes through the probate process. The judge looks at the will to see if your last will is valid or not. Some people write wills that are not valid, and some people name or nominate an executor that is not qualified to serve. So the judge has to evaluate those two things. Is this a valid will? Is the person that you've nominated allowed to serve? Because some people are not qualified. You might be disqualified if you have a felony on your record. Another way of passing on your LLC interest is by using a living revocable trust. But before you just go out and try and send your membership interest to your living revocable trust, have a lawyer look at your operating agreement, because there might be transfer restrictions in your operating agreement. Well, since I'm bringing up operating agreement, let's talk about a properly structured LLC. An LLC can be pierced just like a corporation can. They call that piercing the corporate veil. And if you don't have everything that an LLC needs, then your corporate veil can be pierced. So ask your lawyer if you have an operating agreement. Are you running your business like a business? Do you have separate books and records? Are you spending business operating funds only on business? You want to make sure not to commingle that with your personal account. Okay, here are some other best practices. Filing the annual report with the Texas Controller. If you don't file that, then you can lose your LLC charter. Something else that you need to be aware of that's not state law, it's federal law. It's filing a beneficial owner information report with the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. If you have questions about whether your LLC has to file a beneficial owner report with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, ask a lawyer. Go online to marquardtlawfirm.com. That's M as in mother, ARQUARDT lawfirm.com. I want to tell you about why this is important to me. Besides my philosophy that estate planning attorneys should be helping their clients protect their assets so that those clients have something left to pass on to their beneficiaries through a last will or living trust. It's also about good stewardship. The Bible says in Luke 19:11 that we should be good stewards. Jesus told a parable about a good manager well, maybe he wasn't a good manager, but the manager was going to go off on a business trip, and he left some people in charge of his coins. And when he came back, one of those employees took the coin, and the translation I like said, engaged in business, and the result was 10 coins in return. The manager says, "Good job. I'll put you in charge of 10 cities." Another man took the coin, engaged in business, and got 5 in return. And the manager said, "Good job. I'll put you in charge of 5 cities." And another man said he took his coin and buried it. And because he said, "I didn't want to lose it, and I knew that you'd be mad at me." Well, the manager said, "Take that coin and give it to the man who got the return of 10 coins. He was mad at this person because he said, "If you had at least put the coin in the bank, I could have gotten the interest off of it." So I think this story is about good stewardship. A pastor would probably say it means more about being a good steward of the faith that Jesus gives us. But that's for another conversation. Well, I'm out of time. I'll talk to you later.